In the vast, silent desert, where the sands of time have buried empires and kings, there lies a chapter of history so monumental it should have reshaped our understanding of the ancient world. Yet, it remains a story told only in whispers, an echo from a past that has been largely forgotten. This is the story of a lost dynasty, of powerful monarchs who wore the double crown of Egypt, yet whose origins lay hundreds of miles to the south, deep in the heart of Africa. They were the Kushite rulers, the Black Pharaohs of the 25th dynasty. For nearly a century, these enigmatic kings, hailing from the ancient land of Nubia, not only conquered the mighty empire of the Nile, but revitalized it, breathing new life into its fading traditions and raising monuments to rival the grandest works of their predecessors. Their reign was a period of unification and renaissance. So why then does their extraordinary legacy remain a guarded secret rather than a celebrated truth in the grand saga of human history? Why have the Black Pharaohs been relegated to the shadows, their immense contributions all but erased from the annals that chronicle the glories of ancient Egypt? To find the answer, we must journey south, following the lifeblood of the Nile into the lands of modern-day Sudan. Here, in ancient Nubia, a civilization rose that was not merely a vassal of Egypt, but its formidable rival and, for a time, its master. This was the Kingdom of Kush, a powerhouse of the ancient world. For centuries, it flourished, building an empire rich in culture, military prowess, and a resource that drove the economies of the age: gold. The Kushites were not a peripheral tribe living in the shadow of their northern neighbor. They were the arbiters of a sophisticated and complex society, a forgotten superpower whose influence stretched across the continent. The evidence of their greatness is still etched into the landscape. We can walk among the sprawling necropolis of Meroë, where fields of steep, sharp-angled pyramids pierce the sky, a forest of royal tombs distinct from their Egyptian counterparts, yet equally majestic. These structures speak to a unique and enduring culture that thrived for 1,000 years after its rule in Egypt ended. Further north, at the foot of a sacred mountain known as Jebel Barkal, the Kushites built colossal temples, dedicating them to the very same gods worshipped in Thebes and Memphis. This was their spiritual heartland, a testament to a deeply held faith that they believed they shared more purely than the fractured Egyptian kingdoms of the time. The Kingdom of Kush was a civilization that commanded respect, a vibrant center of power and tradition that was poised to make its indelible mark on the world. As the new Kingdom of Egypt fractured and fell into decline, torn apart by internal strife and foreign invaders, the Kushite kings saw not just an opportunity, but a sacred duty. From their capital in Napata, a pharaoh named Piye watched the chaos to the north. He saw himself not as a foreign conqueror, but as the true heir to the spiritual legacy of pharaohs like Thutmose III and Ramesses the Great. He believed that the gods of Egypt had been abandoned, their temples neglected, and their traditions corrupted. In his eyes, the invasion was a crusade, a holy mission to restore order and piety to the sacred lands of the Nile. Piye and his successors, including the formidable pharaohs Shabaka and Taharqa, swept into Egypt. But their conquest was unlike any other. They did not come to plunder or destroy. They came to unify and to build. The Kushite rulers of the 25th dynasty ushered in an era of renaissance. They ruled over a united Nile Valley, from the highlands of Nubia all the way to the Mediterranean delta. Under their reign, Egyptian art experienced a revival, looking back to the classic styles of the Old and Middle Kingdoms for inspiration, creating works of stunning realism and power. They commissioned the construction and restoration of temples and monuments across the land, from the Karnak complex in Thebes to the far reaches of their southern homeland. Pharaoh Taharqa, in particular, was one of the greatest builders in Egyptian history, his works rivaling those of the most famous pharaohs. For nearly 100 years, these Kushite kings governed as true Egyptians, upholding the religious rites, respecting the local traditions, and presenting themselves as the legitimate protectors of a civilization they revered. They left an indelible mark on the Egyptian political and religious landscape, a golden age forged by a Nubian dynasty. And yet, their story has been systematically marginalized, a vibrant and crucial chapter often condensed to a mere footnote or ignored entirely. In the sweeping narrative of 3,000 years of Egyptian history, the 25th dynasty is frequently overshadowed by the dynasties that came before and after. Their achievements are minimized, their origins obscured, and their rule is sometimes viewed through biased lenses as a brief foreign interruption, rather than the period of unification and cultural restoration that it truly was. The faces carved in stone, with their distinct Kushite features, were sometimes recarved by later rulers. Their stories were overwritten. The question that hangs over the desert air is why? How could rulers of such significance be so thoroughly sidelined by history? The search for an answer leads us into a complex and often contentious debate, a crossroads where archaeology, history, and modern-day cultural politics intersect. Historians and archaeologists continue to explore several compelling hypotheses. One of the most debated perspectives suggests that the historical sidelining of the Black Pharaohs is deeply entangled with their African identity. This argument posits that for much of the 19th and 20th centuries, when the field of Egyptology was taking shape, Western scholarship struggled to reconcile the image of a powerful, sophisticated, Black African civilization ruling over what was considered the cradle of Western classical antiquity. The idea of pharaohs from deep within Africa, from below Egypt, was a narrative that simply did not fit the prevailing biases of the time. According to this view, the Kushite legacy was either minimized or an attempt was made to dissociate them from their African roots, a historical whitewashing that has only recently begun to be corrected. A second, more conventional explanation points to the geopolitical realities of the ancient world. The reign of the 25th dynasty coincided with the terrifying rise of a new superpower from the east, the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Armed with iron weapons and a ruthless military machine, the Assyrians set their sights on the riches of the Nile Valley. Pharaoh Taharqa fought valiantly against them, but the might of Assyria was overwhelming. After a series of brutal invasions, the Assyrians sacked the great city of Thebes, and the Kushite rulers were forced into a strategic retreat. This perspective argues that the Assyrian invasions were the primary catalyst for their disappearance from Egyptian power. They weren't erased so much as militarily defeated by a superior force. Their retreat back to their Nubian heartland marked the end of their rule over Egypt, allowing subsequent Egyptian dynasties and their historians to frame them as a foreign interlude, easily forgotten. But this theory often fails to acknowledge that their kingdom did not collapse. Far from it. After retreating south, the Kingdom of Kush continued to flourish independently for another 1,000 years, a testament to its enduring strength and resilience. A third and increasingly influential perspective highlights the ongoing and necessary process of decolonizing ancient history. This view suggests that the problem is not just about correcting old biases, but about fundamentally restructuring the way we tell these stories. For centuries, the history of the ancient world has been told primarily from a Greco-Roman and Eurocentric viewpoint, creating a hierarchy of civilizations where cultures like Kush were often seen as peripheral. The movement to decolonize history aims to dismantle this hierarchy, to restore the narratives of powerful African civilizations to their rightful place, not as footnotes to Egyptian history, but as major players in their own right. It's an academic and cultural effort to give voice to the silenced, to redraw the maps of the ancient world to reflect a more complex and interconnected reality, and to celebrate the Kushite dynasty not as an anomaly, but as a pinnacle of African achievement. This fresh, academically grounded look is peeling back the layers of forgotten history, revealing a civilization whose impact was profound. Scholars today are re-examining ancient texts, excavating Kushite sites in Sudan, and using modern technology to piece together a more complete picture of the 25th dynasty. They are challenging the old narratives, restoring the names of Piye, Shabaka, and Taharqa to their proper place among the great pharaohs. This is not a revision of history, but a restoration of it, a return to a truth that was buried under centuries of neglect and bias. The story of the Black Pharaohs is more than just a rediscovered chapter from a distant past. It is an echo that reverberates into our present, a powerful reminder that history is often written by the victors, and that the stories we are told are rarely the whole truth. They were rulers who saved a culture from its own decline, who unified a fractured kingdom, and who built monuments for the ages. Their legacy is a testament to the hidden power of a mighty African kingdom that, for a brilliant moment in time, held the fate of the ancient world in its hands. As we uncover the truth of their reign, we are forced to confront the biases that have shaped our understanding of history, and to recognize the incredible depth and complexity of the human story. And so, as we stand before the echoes of this lost dynasty, we are left to wonder, what other truths lie waiting beneath the sands, and how might our world be different if their stories had never been silenced?